Welcome to the Adlo Access Podcast Summer Edition. I'm Simone Roach. July was one of the busiest months we've seen this year. Rather than walk through every blog post we published, we're stepping back to look at the developments that shaped advertising law, privacy, consumer protection, and state attorney general enforcement, and what they mean for businesses. And several themes emerged. AI advertising enters a new phase. Artificial intelligence continues to dominate conversations across industries. But one message came through clearly in July. When it comes to advertising, AI isn't getting its own rulebook. In a recent article for Advertising Week, Kelly Dry partner Gonzalo Mon explains that long-standing truth in advertising principles apply just as much to AI as they do to any other product. And drawing on recent National Advertising Division decisions involving companies such as Apple, Microsoft, Google, and others, Gonzalo outlines 4 practical lessons for advertisers. First, distinguish between features that are available today and those that are still coming. Second, don't overstate what AI can actually do. Third, clearly disclose material limitations. And finally, make sure demonstrations reflect what consumers will actually experience. The technology may be new, but the legal standards remain the same. Companies promoting AI should expect regulators to ask familiar questions. Are your claims truthful? Are they supported? And are consumers getting the whole story? Pricing becomes the story of the month. Another theme surfaced again and again throughout July, and that was pricing. Whether the issue was surveillance pricing, junk fees, subscriptions, loyalty programs, food delivery fees, or comparative advertising, regulators continue to examine not just what companies charge, but how those prices are presented to consumers. KDW's Privacy Practice Chair, Elisa Hutnick, and State Attorney's General Practice Chair, Paul Singer, continued our Surveillance Pricing and Beyond webinar series with a deep dive into the growing scrutiny surrounding data-driven pricing and discounts. Their discussion explored how privacy and consumer protection laws are increasingly intersecting as companies use consumer data in pricing decisions. Our team also examined bipartisan state attorneys general comments to the FTC on food delivery fees, new developments involving junk fee legislation and enforcement, automatic renewal requirements, and a National Advertising Division decision involving comparative pricing claims between Harry's and Gillette. One of the clearest takeaways from July is that pricing is no longer simply a business decision. It has become a regulatory issue that increasingly sits at the intersection of advertising law, privacy, consumer protection, and competition policy. State attorneys general continue to shape consumer protection. And if pricing was one of the month's biggest topics, state attorneys general were among its biggest drivers. Our State Attorneys General team, led by Paul Singer, Beth Chun, Abby Stempson, and Andre Delormier, attended both the Attorney General Alliance annual meeting and the National Association of Attorneys General Presidential Initiative Summit. Those meetings highlighted growing attention to artificial intelligence, surveillance pricing, consumer privacy, child safety, affordability, and multistate enforcement. The team also welcomed representatives from the Maine Attorney General's office for another installment of Kelly Dry's State Attorneys General webinar series, discussing Maine's unique approach to consumer protection, citizen initiatives, and private equity. And for those looking to stay current throughout the year, our July edition of AG Chronicles brought together consumer protection developments from across the country, covering topics ranging from privacy and healthcare to robocalls, children's online safety, environmental enforcement, and emerging investigations. The message coming from the states continues to be consistent. attorneys general are playing an increasingly significant role in shaping consumer protection policy and enforcement. Advertising claims continue to evolve. Advertising claims also remained an active area throughout July. Our team covered developments involving made in USA claims, puffery, environmental marketing, recycling claims, and other advertising issues that reinforce a familiar principle. Regulators and courts continue to evaluate not only the words advertisers use, but the overall message consumers reasonably take away. One notable development involved California's Truth in Recycling law. Gonzalo Mon, Katie Rogers, and Dennis Mima discussed a federal court's decision to temporarily block enforcement of the law while constitutional challenges move forward. And although enforcement is currently on hold, the litigation could have broader implications for environmental marketing claims and California's packaging regulations. Environmental marketing remained a focus elsewhere as well. Kelly Dry partner Christy Thompson recently joined the American Bar Association Antitrust Law Section's Trust and Trade podcast for a discussion on greenwashing with regulators from Connecticut and New York, examining recent enforcement activity and practical considerations for companies making environmental benefit claims. Influencer marketing remains under the microscope. Another trend that continued throughout July was increased scrutiny of influencer marketing. Gonzalo Mon followed developments involving both Kalshi and Polymarket, where questions surrounding influencer disclosures have drawn attention from plaintiffs, regulators, and the National Advertising Division. Although one inquiry was closed after related litigation was filed, the broader message remains unchanged. Companies using influencers should continue paying close attention to disclosure practices, campaign oversight, and compliance with the FTC's endorsement guides. As influencer marketing continues to evolve, businesses should expect continued attention from both regulators and self-regulatory organizations. Practical guidance beyond enforcement. In addition to tracking legal developments, our attorneys continued sharing practical guidance for businesses. KDW's partner Daniela Carelli-Branco joined the Startup CBG podcast with Riot Energy founder Laura Jacobson to discuss co-manufacturer due diligence, including evaluating manufacturing partners, protecting intellectual property, negotiating contracts, and developing reporting practices that help brands maintain visibility throughout the production process. And it's another reminder that good legal guidance isn't just about responding to enforcement. It's also about helping businesses build stronger compliance and operational practices before issues arise. Additional resources. July also featured several additional resources from the Kelly Dry team. Our latest Privacy Perspectives episode examined the rapidly expanding landscape of state data broker laws, with Alex Schneider joined by Aaron Boosteen and Celine Guillou to discuss new registration requirements, California's drop deletion mechanism, and practical questions businesses should be asking as these laws continue to evolve. And you'll also find recordings of our Surveillance Pricing and Beyond webinar series, our presentation on 2026 Consumer Protection Priorities and Trends, the latest edition of AG Chronicles, and several podcast appearances featuring Kelly Dry attorneys in today's show notes. And looking ahead, looking back across July, one theme connects nearly every development we discussed today. The lines between advertising law, privacy, consumer protection, and state attorney general enforcement continue to blur. Whether companies are developing AI products, setting prices, working with influencers, making environmental claims, or managing consumer data, they're increasingly navigating all these issues at once. And we'll continue following these developments throughout the summer and look forward to bringing you another summer edition soon. And if you'd like to learn more about any of the topics we discussed today, visit adlawaccess.com. You can also find additional publications, webinar recordings, podcast and resources at kellydry.com. And thanks for listening. I'm Simone Roach, and we'll be back soon with another summer edition of the Adlo Access Podcast.